Greetings and welcome to Mz.Rootz online education sessions. Let's begin the session by outlining 3 learning objectives. By the end of the session, it is with my intention that you will be able to discuss the importance of critical thinking. You will also be able to describe the impact of language on your identity. And finally, you will be able to review why the African diaspora need an alternative curriculum. For this session, you may need a book, journal or folder as discussed in last session for you to centralise your learning and notes, your pens, which should include highlighters, different colours to help retain information, and a folder, an electronic folder on your system for the documents that you are about to download. Available for download for this session are 2 documents. The links are within the description box of this session. The first document is entitled, "What do you think when you hear the words?" This will coincide with an activity that we're going to be doing later on in the session, and I will highlight to you when this document can be used. And the second document is called, "What do you think when you hear the terms?" Again, I'll indicate to you within the session when this document can be used. Again, I'll emphasise, you can either utilise it as an electronic document or a hard copy, depending on your style of learning. It's totally a personal preference. Embedded within this session are activities designed for you to get your critical thinking cap on. We will start the session off by introducing you to this study of etymology. How many of you have heard of the word etymology before? Do any of you know what it means? I advocate the notion that etymology is vital for the development of your critical thinking. So let's start off by looking at the word etymology. Most of you should know that any word that has the word ology at the end means a study of, it's a science. So let's have a look at a direct definition that I have taken from Google, which summarises the notion of etymology very nicely. So I'll read it to you. It is the study of the origin of words and the way in which their meanings have changed throughout history. So etymology is looking at root words. Where do the words come from and what's happened to the word over time? As I say, this is vital if you are going to be thinking critically to understand the words that you are saying and where they come from. So first activity, and this is designed for you to think about words, where they come from and what do they actually mean. So what do you think when you hear the word Africa? So what do you think when you hear the word Africa? It's a little bit awkward because obviously it's just me and the camera here, but I'm hoping within your home you're having this discussion. Also, This document is downloadable. You can download this document, print it off, and maybe have a session, a written session, a group session, around this actual activity. I can share with you, when I have done this in group situations before, when I've asked people what do they think when they hear the word Africa, the responses are normally a poor continent, a place where black people come from, poverty. It's not normally very positive. I mean, this might have changed over time, especially with what's going on in the media now. People are becoming a lot more conscious. But predominantly, the word Africa is not seen in a positive light. Alright, next word. What do you think when you hear the word African? Okay, so again, I'll share with you some of the things that people have said in sessions that I've delivered this before in. They've said people from Africa, black people, poor people, poverty, HIV. I've had charity, yeah, deprived. Okay, next word. What do you think when you hear the word black? Okay, really penetrate these words. Like, what vision do you get straight away when somebody says black? What do you vision? I'm telling you, in my sessions, again, this is not very positive. Yeah, I get, again, black people, dirty, grimy. People have shouted out words like blackmail, black markets. Yeah? So I want you to just have that little discussion, or have that thought process. Next word. What do you think when you hear the word niggas? So this is niggas with a Z. Right? Think about it. What comes in your head when you hear the word niggas with that Z at the end? Is it a positive word? What image comes up in your head? Again, I'm going to share with you some of the things that have come up in a group session with me. And it's that hip-hoppy, American, bad boy, gangster, that kind of image comes up. Rapper, hip-hop, you know the look. Is it a good word? Who's allowed to say it? Ask yourself, where has that word come from? And why has it got a Z at the end? Does the Z make it cool? Yeah? Hold that thought. Next word. What do you think when you hear the word nigger? What's the difference between niggers and nigger? Are any of them good? Alright, I'm going to share with you again what's come up in my sessions. So a nigger with the ER at the end normally conjures up images of the plantation, slavery, the label bestowed onto us from the slave master. Okay, so this is derogatory. This is highly offensive. Yeah, do you agree? Are you following what I'm saying? Alright, next word. Negro. Are you able to compare and contrast between niggers, nigger, and negro? Where did negro come from? What do you think of when you hear the word negro? Do you know negro is actually a Spanish word for black? Yeah? Does the word negro remind you of any famous people in our history? Like Marcus Garvey, for instance? The Americans like the word negro, don't they? Why? Do those three words remind you of anything at all in Africa? Did you know that there was a Niger River? Yeah? Do you know that there is a country called Nigeria? Do these things have any relation? As I say, I'm conjuring up that critical mindset. Tell me what you think. Last word. Ethiopia. Wow. So what do you think when you hear the word Ethiopia? Does anybody know what it means or where it's come from? Can anybody break down the etymological definition of the word Ethiopia? I'd be interested. We're going to look deeper at the word Ethiopia within this session. But what I can tell you is all those words there are words that are used to describe you. You as the African diaspora. These words have been attached to you at some point during our existence. They all mean you. How do you feel about that? Has this exercise been useful? Have you been able to now look at these words in a different light, in a more deeper context? Are you happy to put any of these labels on yourself? What do you call yourself? How does it affect your identity? It's interesting, isn't it? I will be very, very interested to read your comments. So please do comment below. Leave me messages, feedback on how you feel about this exercise and what it's done for you with regards to your identity and what it's done for your critical mindset. Let's take one of these words and look at it in a bit more depth. So, the word I have taken from that exercise is the word black. Now, Merriam-Webster's dictionary this year defines black as, and it's put it in almost like a numerical list. But the first definition of it is a colour, yeah, and it's very dark. Yeah, they've given you an example here. His face was black with rage. Rage, I've put in red. Dirty, soiled. Again, this is an example. Hands black with grime. So these are definitions of the word black. Yeah, we've kind of adopted that word grime for a genre of music more recently as well, haven't we? Don't you think that's interesting? Number 4, it's characterized by the absence of light. So, black has no light. Yeah, that's really interesting because science shows us that anything black is going to absorb light the quickest and the most. You know you can't wear a black hoodie outside if it's hot, because you're going to sweat. Yeah, wear a white hoodie though and see what happens. Yeah, so which one's absent of light? It's interesting, isn't it? Reflecting or transmitting little or no light. Oh wow. Imagine, we're attaching this definition to our person. Is this a positive definition? Has it been put there on purpose? You know, do you subconsciously become these definitions because it's attached to you? Yeah, I'm just going to go down now and read the red only. You can take time out, press pause and read it properly, or better still, grab your dictionary off your shelf and have a look and see what it says about the word black. Sinister, evil, wicked, devil, sad, gloomy, hostility, angry, grim, distorted, grotesque. Have we become these words? That's interesting again. Leave your comments below. Interact with me. I haven't come up with this definition. I've plucked this out of the dictionary. But I do know that You can become the words that you use regularly. I believe in word vibration. If you call something often enough, it can start to believe it is that. Yeah? And we're okay to be calling ourselves black people? Or are we? Can this be turned positive? As I said, the science shows us that what's in the dark must come to light, and that actually black absorbs the most light. Yeah, we know that you have to put the seed down into the black earth for it to grow into a beautiful flower. So, how do you feel about that? Knocking it on its head, turning it all the way around so it becomes positive. It's interesting, isn't it? So as I keep repeating, and I'll continue to repeat, that I am encouraging you to go about doing your own research and to continue digging into information that we have literally at our fingertips. Right now, I want us to question this notion of race. Where did it come from? Has there always been racial segregation? Have we always split the human race up into different types of people? So let me introduce you to this person. Johann Blumenberg. All I have done is I have gone into Google and I've typed this person's name in. Google has provided me with all sorts of links, but I've gone with the encyclopedia link because this is renowned for being quite a concise resource. It's a good place for you to instigate your research. So I suggest that we begin to use the internet to benefit us and our knowledge and our personal development. Anyway, let's get back to Johann Blumenberg. He's a German philosopher, a German scholar, and he specialized in medicine. In 1775, he wrote his thesis called On the Natural Varieties of Humankind. And he further revised this thesis. And in 1795, he concluded with a theory that split humans up into 5 main categories. Just for extra information, it's important that you know that he was actually the court physician for the King of Great Britain at the time. He was a professor at a university in Germany, which gives him all this power. People respected what this man said and almost took his theories as gospel. He had a lot of weight in society back then. Now, if you look at the dates, 1775, with his last editions being published in 1795. Well, last session, you would have learnt that the slave trade took place between the 15 and the 1800s. So his theories came out in the heights of the transatlantic slave trade. Let's have a look at what he says. So he split humanity up into 5 main races. Have a look at this slide. I won't read it all, but it's up there for you to read. He basically suggests that there was a Caucasian type of race, a Malaysian, an Ethiopian, American, and a Mongolian. This is the first concept of race that we in the Western Hemisphere that we would have kind of drawn towards is in terms of why we are different. His observations as he travelled included the fact that he noticed that the further north people lived, the further northern in the hemisphere that people resided, the lighter the skin pigmentation became. He actually said in his thesis that people lost their skin pigmentation. Not just people, but also plants and animals. And he highlighted especially in the winter, which is quite significant. Johann Blumenberg also was quite subjective in it. He had opinions about these people, and his opinion was the more northern he went, the more beautiful the people looked. He found that people with this loss of skin pigmentation were more beautiful, prettier to look at. Can you see how that opinion may have impacted the general mindset of the people of his day, and how that would have consequences for the people of today? I know I've gone off on a bit of a tangent, but hopefully this session will start to come together. I started the session off by introducing you to the term etymology, which means, I can hear you all shouting back, it's the study of words, right? Where words come from and how they've changed over time. We also started to critically examine words that we use every day. We throw them around every day and attach them to our being and our identity. So we had that exercise. What do you think when you hear the word? Yes? Then I introduced you to Blumenberg. And now I want to go back to that word, Ethiopia, which was one of the words that we attached to ourselves. And as you saw, Blumenberg actually defined a whole race as Ethiopian. So I want to show you a tool that I use online. I'm actually going to go through it in real time with you. So it's something that you can utilize yourself, something that you can tap into when you're doing your research. So let me show you how to access this useful tool. I'm going to go into my internet search engine. I use Chrome, Google Chrome, but you may use Firefox or the Internet Explorer. Either way, get online. I'm going to go here to my search area and I'm going to type in the word etymology. As you can see, it's guessed it for me already, right? Because I've used that search already, it's remembered it. But for you, you may have to type it in because it'll be the first time. But from there on, your browser will remember that word. So here we go, it's giving me the definition. This is the definition that you saw on the first slide. When you scroll down, it also provides me with a link. This is a etymological dictionary, a really powerful one. If you select that link, it provides you with an online dictionary that I use a lot. I actually love this resource. It's a good starting place for you to start to decipher what words mean. I'm not suggesting that you rely on this alone, but it's a starting place. From here, you should continue to dig and dig, compare, contrast, so you come up with your own interpretation on what things mean. So here we go, we're going to type in the word Ethiopia. Okay, so here we go. It's given us the word Ethiopia. As you can see, it derives from a Greek word, yeah, Ethiopian, Ethiops. It also is saying that it's the native name, that the native name was Abyssinia. Alright, so you guys should know that the ancient word for Ethiopia, the ancient word that we use to describe that area, was Abyssinia. It's guiding us now to go to this word here, Ethiop. So let's click Ethiop. Alright, now this is where it gets really, really interesting, and why we really should have an understanding about this word, Ethiopian. So, I'm not going to read it all, I'm just going to go to the keywords. It's for you now to go to this resource and other resources to back up what I'm telling you. So anyway, it's describing the Ethiopian as a Negro. Yeah, remember this word Negro, meaning black in Spanish, from the first activity we did today. Yeah, deriving from the Greek word Ethiops. Yeah, now it says it comes from the word Ethiopian, which means to burn, plus ops, which means face in Greek. So, when we look at Ethiops, they would define it as being fury looking, or later sunburnt. So, in a nutshell, Ethiopian means people with burnt faces. It's quite a simple description for people with dark pigmentation. That's how the Greeks would have seen us. Now, in comparison to them, they would have obviously been of lighter pigmentation. So they would have described the Ethiopian as being burnt or of darker pigmentation. I find that so interesting. Because if you think about our first session, I show you how science, history, geography, anthropology has pointed us to Ethiopia being the birthplace of humanity. And I introduced you to the human remains that they found called Lucy, who is almost 6 million years old. Where did they find Lucy? They found her in Ethiopia. If they found Lucy in Ethiopia, what colour would Lucy have been? Well, she would have been a person with a burnt face, surely. Lucy was a black woman, an African woman of dark pigmentation, one of the first human beings to have trod this planet. Let's go back to this word here, atheum. Doesn't it remind you of another word? Does it remind you of the word ether? Let's go and open up another tab. Do you guys know what ether means? The ethers. Let's type it in. Ether. You see? Google knows what I'm looking for. Ether. What does it mean? Okay, so let's scroll down. It's a pleasant smelling, colourless liquid. Alright, let's go further down. The clear sky, the upper regions of air beyond the clouds. Alright, so it means air. It's a gas. Yeah, it's the sky. Let's dig deeper. Here, Google offers you to dig deeper into the word. So it's going to look here at the etymology now. So let's go down. So it's giving us some more information here about the actual physics of the ether. Yeah, but have a look here. It's linking back to that word, isn't it? Ether, burn, shine, upper air. Yeah, it's linking it back to that notion of burn, carbon. Yeah, we all know that when something burns, it becomes carbonated. So does that suggest that black people are carbon? Just triggering that critical thought process, people. That's all I'm here to do. I don't know all the answers, but I know how my brain works. So there we go. This is how we research. This is how we start to trigger that critical mindset and how we should be teaching our young people to think. Let's go back to the word Ethiopian, because I haven't quite finished here. This word gets me so excited. So anyway, let's go down to this area here. It gives us a bit more detail. So, I'm not going to read it all, but I'm going to go into some of the keywords. So it says, it's a dwelling near the rising, and the other, the setting of the sun. Now, I'm going to go into detail about geography in next sessions. It's quite interesting to see the layout of the world map as we know it. But Ethiopia, as it stands, is on the equator. The equator is that invisible line around the globe that depicts the strongest point of the sun rays on the planet. So, Ethiopia is that point where the sun is at its absolute strongest and may have contributed to why that was the environment where humanity came up and out of. Anyway, let's go on. Embrowned, yeah, talks about luminary. Anything illuminated is light. Yeah, but this bit here is what I like and gets me excited and connects me on a spiritual level about this word. It's described as being blissful. Blissful means a state of being in absolute peace. Yeah? It also talks about the reason for it being blissful is because it has this flood of light. The flood of light coming from the sunshine. Yeah? It contributes to this blissful existence. Now, if the land is blissful, surely the people will have been in a blissful state, in a blissful society, in a blissful civilization. In the way they lived would have been blissful. It's described as being blameless and pure. Sounds like heaven on earth, right? How many of you have heard of the word utopia? Ethiopia? Utopia? Blissful? Are we seeing the connections here? Continue to do your own research, people. I hope you have captured the essence of my message here. Let's go back to the presentation because I have another short activity for you to participate in. And it's called, what do you think when you hear the term? Again, it's designed to trigger that critical thinking. Words we throw about all the time, but don't actually go into depth about what do they mean. So have a look at this word. What do you think when you hear the term Western world? What is the Western world? What picture in your mind do you get? What image comes up in your mind's eye when someone says to you, the Western world? I know for me, the Western world is images of cities, hustle and bustle, capitalism, making money, everybody on their grind, chasing paper. Yeah? To me, that's the Western world. And to be honest, for me, it's a little bit too fast. Yeah? But I'll be interested to hear your opinion. Where did the Western world come from? How's it developed? Has it got anything to do with colonialization? Yeah, I'll be interested to hear your feedback on that. What do you think when you hear the term Third World? Apparently it's politically incorrect now to call it the Third World. Apparently we're supposed to call it the developing world. Whatever. People are still saying Third World. Yeah? What's the difference between the Western world and the Third World? Which countries sit in the Western world? And which countries sit in the Third World and the developing world? What are the connections between the Western world and the Third World? Here's a question. Would the Western world exist without the Third World? Would the Third World exist without the Western world? Show me your thoughts in the comments area. Yeah? Last term, the new world. So we're forever creating our reality. Yes? Do we have the power to create a new world? Or is the new world being created on our behalf? What does the new world look like? When does the new world exist? Does it exist tomorrow? Or is it something that's going to happen in the future? Are we linking the new world with politics, globalization, digital technologies? Are those the images you get when we talk about the new world? And are we throwing around this term, New World Order? What does that look like? Are you happy with it? Are you happy with the way the new world's gonna look? Do we have the power to change it? As I say, I look forward to your feedback in the comment section, or email me. Hit me up in my Instagram, my Twitter, my Facebook. Communicate with me, guys, and let me know if you're enjoying the session so far. Question. What was the old world? Was it yesterday? Or are we talking about ancient times? Are we talking about the transatlantic slave trade and what the world looked like then? Or we're talking about the world before the transatlantic slave trade? What did the planet look like before slavery? Was it a good planet? Was it simple? What's changed? What can we learn from the old world? It's interesting, isn't it? So why is this course important? The next session, we're going to be jumping into a more formal type structure to the course, and the checklist that you should have downloaded details the modules that we're going to be tackling. So look forward to that formal course where you're going to be building on your knowledge. It's important because it's going to raise your racial and cultural confidence. It's being designed for you to become more proud of who you are and to affirm your identity and where you come from. That's why before I deliver any other sessions, it's imperative that you complete that African Studies course that's going to take up the next few sessions. Yeah? It's also important because I want to break down any stereotypes about our people, the African diaspora. There are so many negative stereotypes and connotations about us as a people. And this course, the next few sessions, are designed to eradicate that. I want to raise awareness of the contributions of Africa and what Africa has contributed to the world. Not just Africans as a people, but Africa as a landmass. Africa itself has contributed so much to the rest of the globe, including its people. I also want to ensure that Africa is seen in a positive light. I want to dispel that negative image that people have of Africa. When you say the word Africa, it needs to be seen in a positive light for what it really is. We are now coming towards the end of this session. But before we conclude, it's important that we check your learning. Are you able to answer these questions? As we've discussed before, this would be a good time now for you to either use your book, journal or folder to document the questions and answers in written form. Or if you prefer, just have a conversation with the people in the room. If there's nobody with you, ponder these questions in your mind's eye. Also, it's okay to talk out loud. Talk to yourself. To me, I get moments of clarity when I speak out loud. Whichever method suits you, you could even consider recording into your phone these answers. Maybe listen to them later through your headphones. These are all methods of retaining information. Anyway, let's make a start. Are you able to state what is meant by the term critical thinking? Can you recall the term etymology? Why is this important for critical thinking? Can you discuss why the use of language may affect your identity? That last question should take you back to the activity called "What do you think when you hear the word?" Yeah, so start to examine why language may actually have an effect on your identity. Does it have a negative effect or a positive one? Can you identify who Johann Blumenberg was? What was he known for? Do you recall? What was his theory about? Have that discussion. But as I say, Record it in your book, folder or journal. It's a good piece of knowledge to have. Are you able to analyse the word Ethiopia by applying etymology? Ooh, can you see how much you've learnt today? What is the meaning of Ethiopia? Are you able to break that down using the science of etymology? If you can, you're doing really well. And last question. Are you able to distinguish between the 4 views of the world? So this should take you back to the activity called What Do You Think When You Hear the Term? We broke down 4 views of the world. Obviously there's only one world, but we've got these 4 views. What are they? What do they mean? How does that impact your identity? How does it make you feel? Does it give you a sense of purpose? I'd be interested in reading the comments below. Feel free to email me or hit me up on my social media. Anybody wants me to read through their answers, I will be more than happy to share them in the next session. We have now reached the end of this session. Well done, everybody who has sat through the whole session and completed all of the Check Your Learning questions. You should be proud of yourself, and I, Mz.Rootz, am very proud of you also. Thank you very much for interacting with me, taking part in the session. Remember to share, subscribe and like, and I look forward to seeing you next session.